Hello, and welcome to Metachemistry. This is episode 97, and today we're going to take some time to talk about the Colorado Krug, which will be happening very soon. It's coming up the weekend of August 23rd and 4th, so that Friday, Saturday. And when this releases, it should be the upcoming weekend. So we're going to take some time to talk about the mission lineup, some details on the event, the prep work or lack of prep work that we've respectively done for the event, and some other fun goodies in that regard. But before we get started, I want to give a quick shout to Mo Games, sponsor of Metachemistry. You can find them at mo-games.com and get all of your Infinity goodies there. If you are a paid patron of our show, you get access to a 10% discount code at that store. And if you are a member of our Discord, whether you're a patron or not, you are entered in to win a $40 coupon code to that store each month. So feel free to stop by for that. Because what's better than games? Mo Games. And so for this episode, we have Ian, myself, and we are welcoming back Azoka.
Hello.
So
I'm glad to be back.
We're glad to have you back. But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of talk about a little bit of a quick check-in as far as how things have been with your hobby or gaming time over the last little bit since we've seen each other. Ian, why don't we start with you, and then we'll circle around.
Nothing to tell. Still haven't played since Showdown.
Haven't played since Showdown. Yes, you're very prepared.
Yep.
That's right. No hobby time either?
Not really. I realized that I have to get my prize support for Krug painted up right away.
Okay.
So,
yeah. I've got the majority of it done, but there's definitely some stuff still to do.
Yeah, I am experimenting a little bit with speed paints, and I don't know how I like them.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I haven't tried out Army Painter speed paints. I've used other similar products.
I'm kind of mixed on the Army Painter speed paints. I really like GW contrast paint, and sometimes the Army Painter paints work really well, but I just find that sometimes the Army Painter paints dry up really quickly, like way too quick, and they're a little hard to work with.
Yeah, they have a different type of medium from what I understand. I think they're more like gel based somehow. I'm not super familiar. I don't really have much Army Painter stuff to work with, and I haven't really bought much of the line to really say. But yeah, for me, I've been playing a little bit more Tunguska. I have not finalized lists, but hopefully by the time our listeners are hearing this, I have. So that would be cool. And I've been ran a couple demos this last week at our game night. So we have a new player coming out to experience the game. He had already purchased Blackwind, but it hadn't arrived yet. And so we got a chance
that's really awesome.
Try that out. Yeah,
how'd the demo go?
I think it went well. He seemed to be really interested. It sounds like he'll probably come out for more games. And yeah, it's great to hear. It's always nice to have extra people join the community. So
yeah,
it's a good time.
You talk about that. I got some games in today, even, and at one of the local stores that we went to, there were, I don't know, I got like 5 people being like, "Oh, is this Infinity?" Just like they know about it, but haven't played either in a long time or ever. And I was just like, "Well, maybe we'll have to get some demos in over here."
There you go. Yeah. So what else has been going on with you? I guess since you were last with us, Azoka.
Well, I was last time we spoke. I was Salt Lake. I think the Salt Lake recap. So we got to play Salt Lake there, and before then, I'd been playing a ton of JSA. Just a ton of JSA. JSA has been so much fun. By the way, I'm very excited about our news that we've got. Yeah, that's really, really exciting to hear that we're getting a whole faction. I'm not ready for it. I'm still enjoying playing this version of JSA. That's been a breath of fresh air, and I don't know, something about the way that they have to tackle challenges and the way that they react in the ARO phase of the game is very enjoyable for me. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
I will be bringing them to the Krug. And I have finalized lists, so take that.
Ooh, yeah, it's one over on me for sure. Yeah, which, I've been playing Tunguska lately because that's what I plan on bringing as well. I mean, I love playing them, but I've been prone to flights of fancy lately and wanting to jump around factions. But yeah, so I've settled on playing them until the Krug, and then we'll see where things take us.
Very cool.
And Ian, this will be your last hurrah with Varuna, if I understand correctly.
Yep, done with them. So I do enjoy Varuna. Just playing them, for everything for the last year is like there's not enough variety really to keep me super interested, because I do like to mix up my list here a bit.
Yeah.
And they're very good at what they do, but they're semi-limited in how they do it. So,
Sure.
as I said, I'll be happy to hang them up for a bit, and then we'll see what the next with N5 dropping. We'll see what options there will be, and have everybody vote on those again. And I think we'll make a decision whether that's going to be for 3 months or 6 months or
give you a
kind of
break.
whatever. But yeah, not a whole year.
Yeah.
Sticking with one faction for the whole year can be a little rough. Unless it's like, I think there's a few factions out there that would be great, like Bakunin or Corregidor. There are tons of variability that you can have. But yeah, sticking with some of the one-note wonders.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's not easy, especially, for you in particular. I feel like, there's a reason you collect all the things. It's because you would like to play with all of your toys, I imagine. So
Yep.
when you can't, or aren't supposed to, I guess is more accurate. I could see that being a little rough. So yeah, as far as the Krug itself goes, though, so the Krug is kicking off Infinity Global Week. So this year, Interplanetario wasn't going to happen. I believe that it's a local community in Spain that runs and hosts the event.
That
and
is
it's
correct.
kind of sponsored by Corvus Belli, but it's not run by Corvus Belli. And so whatever the case was, that wasn't going to be feasible this year for one reason or another. And so, after some discussion, Corvus Belli had agreed to an Infinity Global Week. So, effectively, what's going to happen is the Krug is going to be the kickoff for this event, and Infinity Global Week will go until the following weekend at Nova Open. And every event that's registered to be a part of Infinity Global Week is running the same mission lineup. And so, as far as instead of having people at the Interplanetario declaring a winner there, it's going to be based on the results of the tournaments that happened. And so, I think whoever does the best at their respective event is going to be the winner, is my understanding. So
That's
yeah,
very interesting, because it'll be cool to, if we talk in hypothetics, it'd be cool to win the Krug and then do so well at the Krug that you win Infinity Global.
right.
But I wonder if people are going to have an issue with that, because some metas are not as, I guess, Shark Tanky or something. So they may have a lower skilled player base, or maybe less players in general, so you can get a little bit of a skewed result. I wonder how that's going to land.
Well, since they're running the same missions at every event, that helps mitigate it a little bit, just as everybody's using the common data set. And then it sounds like it's just going to come down to the actual numbers.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. I don't think there's any way to really account for that on the events that are reporting.
Sure.
Yeah, and I don't anticipate any sort of malfeasance in that regard. It is kind of interesting because, like, let's say you have a meta where you have a community organizer that's very, very good at the game, and they have a group of very inexperienced players, and they end up getting wildly high scores against the group in an event that they host or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess that could theoretically happen, but I don't really see that being the case. It requires a semi-specific set of circumstances, and I don't actually know what the requirements are to be a part of Infinity Global League or not. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's even
I
possible.
wonder.
But maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the Infinity Global Week event goes, the missions are going to be Firefight, Frontline, Mind Wipe, Supplies, and Unmasking. So with that mission lineup, theoretically, you guys have maybe looked at lists. Ian, maybe not. But as far as the missions go, what sorts of things kind of jump out at you immediately just looking at that lineup?
So for me, when I look at that lineup, that screams ITS. Normal ITS, that is what that lineup is. Supplies, very safe. Unmasking, it's a good mission that you see or that I've seen at a majority of the tournaments that I've been in. Firefight is a very good kill focused mission with still having a lot of objectives and the like. Then you have Frontline, which is a quality, I'm pretty familiar with that mission. I've played it a decent amount at the bigger tournaments. That's great for zone control. And then the only one that's a little weird, I guess, is Mind Wipe. But when I see them, I kind of see the pretty normal missions that I'm expecting to see. So it makes list building a little easier. But besides that, I would have to say that for me, what I'm seeing in these lists is hackers are very good, right? Hackers are going to be great at doing many of the classifieds, not any. And then doing obviously unmasking and Mind Wipe
for sure.
Yeah, specifically Mind Wipe because you get that Uber hacker order. Well,
yeah,
and the bonus, of course. So they're great there. So hackers are going to be very good. There's not a lot of exclusion zones. I think the only exclusion zone is unmasking, which is very nice for JSA or other forward deployment factions. So that's something that I'm definitely taking into consideration when building lists and thinking about what we're going to run up against, those sorts of things. And then, really, that's a lot of the things that I'm seeing on a first reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, it's very specialist heavy. And that's fine because Showdown was very kill heavy. So
it's kind of true.
It's kind of, we get to do a little bit of an opposite thing with this. And honestly, it's fine because specialists are kind of the bread and butter of why Infinity really works as a competitive system, is having those missions where you need to have specialists to just kill stuff. That said, I'm happy to see Mind Wipe. I think that's an interesting mission. I'm less happy to see Unmasking, and it's nothing to do with the quality of the mission other than the fact that I just played that mission at so many tournaments that it's fine. I've preached about this numerous times. I'm sick of playing the mission. Although it's been a while now, so I'm fine. I can live with it. It's fine.
Sure. Yeah, I'm generally in the same boat. I don't think it's a specifically... This feels like a decent split, but I don't personally feel like it's extremely objective or specialist heavy, I guess, is a better way to put it. Because Firefight's very killy, and yes, you need classifieds, but a lot of classifieds don't actually require specialists.
Yeah.
And Frontline is very killy.
I think the last time I checked, it's about 50-50 for specialists to non-specialists in classifieds.
That sounds right. And it's pretty, that's pretty massive, thinking about that, right? You would think that you would generally require specialists for those sorts of things, but yeah, there's a lot you can do without, or with only having one or two specialist types. And I kind of like that little tug of war in Firefight in particular, that you don't want to have too many specialists, but you don't
Yeah.
want to just run without. And I'm glad that, because it used to be much more limited on the classified end. So changing that to where classifieds have much more weight in the scoring is really nice to kind of force that choice a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mind Wipe and Unmasking obviously love hackers. Getting a bonus to rolls makes that just very consistent. And that's awesome. And supplies, I mean, any specialist
Supplies.
can initially grab it, but it's also fairly killy. Like, it's not something you don't need to necessarily grab the boxes right away. You could just set up a foothold around the boxes and, close your opponent in.
Yeah.
But
When we
yeah.
talk about the mission, like supplies and mind wipe specifically, those two
Mhm.
missions very, very much benefit from forward deployment or infiltrating specialists.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like the main safety valve on Mind Wipe is that you can't harm the server's first turn.
Yeah.
Which goes a long way, which I'm glad for. Yeah, it would be kind of easy to get, quasi blowout results that way.
Oh yeah. But conversely, because there is no such restriction in supplies, you can get a first turn blowout if the terrain and some factors are in your favor. Because I've done it before.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
no, I control all the
absolutely,
things, and you can't come get them from me. You don't have enough orders to get them out of my deployment zone.
Yeah, and it's, can you do it within 3 turns?
Yeah.
Is the thing. And, it kind of depends. And that's part of why I feel like supplies is a semi-killy mission.
Mhm.
Is you want to restrict what your opponent can do. I mean, honestly, if you were just at some sort of astronomical advantage, you could just grab all the boxes and then start murdering everything your opponent has, and end
And I've
up,
done it.
basically just winning on turn 1.
Yeah.
But that's far from the typical experience that
Yeah,
I would see
it's
with
not
supplies.
often, but I have done that.
But yeah, there usually has to be some sort of pretty large disparity in a couple factors for that to happen.
I agree. I look at supplies and I'm like, this is going to be easy. Then I play it and I'm like, I don't have enough orders for this to be easy. Shit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, supplies is kind of that classic simple mission that is often a go-to for early games of Infinity, and for good reason, I think.
Mhm.
It asks for specialists without being overly demanding of them, because once you get the box out, then anybody can pick up from there. Maneuvering in terrain is very, very important as far as how well you can defend the box, or what your options are to assault the enemy carrying boxes. So, yeah, I mean, I think supplies is a pretty good mission for that. But yeah, I think for me, my kind of breakdown is probably going to be, roughly speaking, is planning lists for firefight and frontline, and then another for mind wipe, supplies, and unmasking. Because it's really easy for me to have a lot of specialists because I like having hackers, and these missions like having hackers. But I bring that into supply, or into not supplies, into firefight, and then I'm real sad.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I killed half your army. Well, that's at least 5 of those were specialists.
Yep,
You could
it's-
just forgo that even. Just
Yeah.
like I've been playing Firefight and just like not even worrying about it.
Sure.
Firefight was in SLS, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was. I had a lot of specialists. I had 4 specialists in both lists of Onyx that I brought. And I ultimately, after the practice and everything that I got, I just decided, it is what it is. Like, just let it go. I found that feels better playing the mission.
Oh, I think that's the difference. I didn't think 4 was a lot.
yeah. That is definitely different.
Because, yeah, I was looking.
Oh no, he's counting. He's off one hand. He's now on 2.
Okay. So it's like 6 specialists.
That's a
Like,
lot.
I don't think I want to put that into firefight. I think that's a little too much.
Mm.
I think the other one's
Yeah.
like 3.
I think
I'm
it
trying to
also
remember how many
is testing.
specialists did I have. I had a decent amount of specialists, but I just murdered the hell out of everything else. So like I came out ahead there.
Yeah. If you have a lot of specialists and do a lot of killing, but don't get killed, easy
Well,
peasy.
It's also real
Yeah.
fun when people forget that certain models, like the Unknown Ranger, are
Is a
specialists.
specialist.
And
Yeah.
so when I murder the Unknown Ranger, it's a specialist kill.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's not that it is wildly critical, because that's what, 2 points? So
2 points matters.
it
2
matters,
points
but
does
it's
matter.
it's not, is it warping for your game plan? Maybe it shouldn't be. But yeah, I feel like I definitely want to be wary of going overboard, at least overboard for that
Sure.
mission. So, like, yeah, normally I have a fairly high specialist count, but maybe that's too high for that, and I'm just kind of asking for it a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um.
so go ahead.
Another topic that I've thought of because it really matters in this season is those damn QAZ zones.
Yep.
There are 2 missions in this that have QAZ zones, which is specifically firefight, and if I can find my phone, I know which one the other one is.
Oh.
I'm using it as a light.
Is it
Good go me.
Mind Wipe? I think it's Mind Wipe.
No, it is not Mind Wipe. It is supplies.
Oh, it is supplies. Okay.
And I was wrong. It's 3. So firefight, frontline, and supplies all have. No, I just can't read. Both of the F missions, firefight and frontline, have QAZ zones. Supplies has a QAZ creature. I am so sorry.
Yay. My favorite nonsense.
I love the QAZ creature.
It's a really interesting, like, sort of gear check type placement, which can be rough because, it's one thing if I place it in front, ideally you're going to place it somewhere where it's fairly hard to get to and almost impossible to get to without being in zone of control is the goal, right?
Yeah.
And barring things like spec fire or what have you. But some armies will look at that and be like, cool, well, I can basically punch that for free. Done. And other armies will be like, I don't actually want to go there now.
Yeah.
And that can be a little scary. Like, I mean, we saw that, at SLS, where like I was playing OSS, but I had Dawan available, which Dawan are pretty good at dealing with that. But I was playing against Randy's Svallerheimer Winter Force, and like Lian Kai was there, but he wasn't near enough, and so it was Fusiliers around it. And Fusiliers are not good at dealing with that sort of thing.
No.
So yeah, it is interesting to see how it can affect factions very, very differently. For some, it's trivial, and for others, it's
almost a benefit, even.
As long as you remember that they're there.
Yeah, you have to,
right?
There's a requirement in using them.
Well, yeah, I said, like, there's plenty of games that they've been put down, and both players just like forget to do anything with them.
Yeah, or the
like,
turrets even.
Yeah.
I will say, like, keep in mind as you're placing these QAZ creatures, if you're playing against any faction that has Protheon, pay attention to that. You don't want to give your opponent free wounds.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Even if it is just one. So that's definitely been something I've considered, because the 2 zones in the 2 missions, the killing missions, really get in the way. So when I'm thinking about JSA, the zones are great for Ryukin. They're phenomenal for Ryukin, or like flashbots and stuff like that, because they're just going to reduce the burst of whoever's fighting them, which is very good. And you're not going to move through them because nobody is insane enough to do so.
Yeah, I am a little sad about, which I'm sure it's come up before, but I'm a little sad that the hazmat ops doesn't become immune to the damage.
Yeah.
That would be good. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
But,
Well, yeah, it
yeah.
doesn't make any sense that it doesn't.
Like you don't suffer
Yeah.
the difficult terrain penalty, and in fact you get the movement boost. But yeah, still taking the hit is rough. Like, and it's like you said, it's not even high damage, right? But it's just such a possibility for a tremendous failure. Like that can be critical.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, just the movement alone has been difficult. I mean, we've seen that in previous seasons where, you don't have the appropriate terrain skill and it really slogs or turns into a slog
Yeah.
and can, just soak up a couple orders that you could have used to do more productive things. But the possibility of it just killing a model, and one that's not even terribly unlikely. Like, I
Yeah,
guess
I wouldn't move a BTS 3 model through it, or a BT like a bolts have great BTS at 6. I still wouldn't move them through it because you're taking 2 saves. Well, actually, not from bolts because they have terrain total, but
yeah.
anybody else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you can't move through the zone, you can't get through without taking 2 hits, which is brutal.
Yeah.
Even though it is only damage 10. Like, the only models I tend to feel comfortable enough are BTS 9 models or BTS 6 models that are multi-wound.
But if you roll that 1, I still laugh at you.
Well, that's just because you're such a nice guy.
I know.
But yeah, that's I think the only model I've actually run through a quantum anomaly zone with is the Marut, who is like just the perfect model to do that with. It's terrain total and BTS 9
and multi-wound.
3 structure.
Yeah.
So it's like it doesn't really get any better than that.
Here's what you do: you play Shinobu or any other high dodge terrain total skill guy, and you're just like, I dodged through it. I didn't perform an order. Haha! Thanks, Infinity.
Yeah, it would still stop you at first, so you'd need at least 2?
Oh yeah,
or you need 3?
No, terrain total.
One will hit. Yeah, one will hit. One will get you probably halfway through, unless you have. Well, with the dodge plus 1 inch, I think that no, as long as you're not going straight across, you should be able to get out on the second one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm meaning. Yeah.
You angle that could work. But yeah,
anyways, they're not terrain total.
the ninjas, yeah.
Which they used to be in the ITS 13. They got terrain total. Yeah, because that's when they got mimetism and everything too. Oh, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, bikes.
Yeah, bikes.
Gotcha.
Because they could just go right through if they had terrain total.
It's true.
Zippy zippy.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've been thinking about that, and the QAZ creature as well. I haven't really thought about the turret. Has the turret been a factor for you guys? I mean, I've had turrets do stuff to me, but I don't really think about them.
Yeah, it's not something I would say that I, really consider, or that it changes how I plan on building a list or anything like that. It's just kind of a nice little extra thing, but rarely do I see it do anything of particular note.
Yeah.
Though it does happen sometimes. At least scares people sometimes.
I mean, in the right spot, it can really be a nuisance.
Now, when there are 4 of them in a Res Ops game,
great times for everybody.
That becomes amazing. Guns everywhere.
I'm trying to think of like meta things. Like, what does the meta look like right now? And I don't think that, just like always, I'm not really expecting much. Like, I'm not going into Krug being like, we're gonna see a lot of steel phalanx.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, even for something like that, where seeing a lot of a faction, for our purposes, that's probably like a lot for the event would probably be like over 10%. Yeah. Which doesn't happen that much. Like, it does happen, but I don't think, as far as specific faction, like a given sectorial or something, that doesn't really happen. Like, there's not.
Also, you can't like
Usually-
prep for it
sorry.
because Showdown had like 5 Veruna players.
There were.
Is that right?
Well, there were like 5 or 6 Pano players.
There was 3
And
Veruna.
I think, yeah.
3 Veruna.
Yeah, so maybe it was 6 Pano. But yeah, there was a fair amount of Pano overall. But
Anyways,
even
it was
then,
surprising.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy to see in that force. But yeah, so the lack of exclusion zones, again, barring unmasking, I think is a big deal. And being able to utilize infiltrators and other special deployment is incredibly helpful for a lot of these missions. Like being able to jump on the consoles in Mine Wipe or the tech coffins and supplies, order one is massive potentially. Now, depending on the table, you may not actually have free reign to do that, but
Yeah.
you could pretty quickly get to that point if you are able to drop some smoke or some white noise or both for those Eclipse users out there.
It's definitely doable, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I think that will play an important role, and I think that there's a good chance you'll be seeing some of that. Not from me though. I don't have much of that in Tunguska. I have specters, and that's basically it.
Crockman.
Could do it.
Rockmen are good. I don't know why people boo on them.
They're expensive. That's the only reason. They're really
It's true.
good, but they are. It's because they have the X visor. It pumps them up just a little bit more than a lot of the other troops that are in the similar utility bracket.
Yeah.
Because if you look at their equipment and their skills, they're pretty much on par, but they're 5 points more because they have an X visor or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a common thing with most of those like MIM6 hidden deployment skirmishers. They just tend to be pretty pricey. Like, you can do some cool stuff with them, but as we talked about in our skirmishers episode, they tend to not be very durable.
Yeah.
Their defense is not getting hit. If they get hit, then you start to worry.
And they're sad. You talk about skirmishers that get hit. I've been trying to flex a little bit of my JSA muscles because I don't really do some of the things that. Okay, so one of the players in the meta from New Mexico is Yonji, and I played a couple of games with him. He's an absolute treat, and he just dumpstered me with an Oniwaban. I was like, "What the heck? I've never. What? How did you do that?" Or whatever. And so now I'm like, maybe I can try it. It does not work for me. I can't play that way. Yeah, I was like, I'm doing everything the way he did it, but it's not working. What am I doing wrong?
But are you really? Really?
Probably not is the answer.
No.
Probably
That's
overthinking it.
talking about the Crockman with X visor thing has me thinking. I'm like, maybe I take that Crockman with the multi-sniper rifle and I just like go active and start bapping people at like under 8 inches because it's 0 range. Surprise attack multi-sniper at 6 inches away.
I really like that actually because one of the negatives of infiltrating a sniper is you're closer to them and you don't want to be closer to them.
Yeah.
With a sniper rifle, but actually, man, you're onto something.
Like it's not great because it's still 0 range. It's the surprise attack and the MIM -6 is what makes it.
I mean, they're on a neg 12 automatically, right? Cover MIM 6,
potentially cover surprise attack, and then they'd probably be on a neg 9 because you're probably going to be in a +3 range bracket for at least a pistol.
I'll fire my shotgun in blast mode.
Yeah, or that.
So you're neg 3 now? Or no, you'd be neg
No,
6.
I'm laying a template.
It's templating.
Yeah.
Pick your targets wisely.
Yes.
We talk about the new update coming out. I really hope that there's a reduction in the amount of templates that's around.
There are a lot, and I would definitely be happy to see. I'm not sure what else to change with shotguns because I like the option for a template, and I think that's cool. But I just think that they're just so
So
widespread
the
that
thing
I'd
is,
almost rather see it just go away.
it would require a slight change of the rules. You know, a midway point between N3 and N4, where instead of you just lay a template and you still roll to hit and then lay the template, but the template still has to come from your base instead of going out, you know, whatever how many ever inches to them and then exploding out from there. You know, I think that's, again, it requires another layer in the rules, which I'm probably not going to want to do, but it at least allows it to operate, you know, even though it's a teardrop, it then becomes an impact template instead of a direct template. And there's a face-to-face involved at least, but you can still hit multiple
That'd
things
be good.
with template mode.
Yeah, I could see that. Something like that would be nice. But yeah, just not having direct templates on every shotgun in the game, I think would help quite a bit because it's just so easy to just say,
Trade up.
sure, I'll trade with your one wound model. Done.
Yeah.
Those skirmishers, real schwanky there.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about templates and like kind of responses to that. That gets me thinking about some of the other skirmishers that have problems, which is like hacking skirmishers. Because they're, you know, vulnerable to not only hacking because they're halfway up the board, blah blah blah. But in prep for Krug, looking at unmasking and mind wipe, taking a killer hacker has way more value because you're gonna see hackers, probably even killer hackers. So it's going to be really nice to be able to get in there and do some damage. So like outside of the Arigato killer hacker being good, I am taking the Arigato killer hacker to do such a thing.
Yep. Yeah. Having killer hackers is going to be relevant, like in probably more matches than not during the Krug. I think that's something to definitely have access to. It's one of those things where I feel like you can get away with running a hidden deployment hacker and taking one of those skirmishers and making that work, and then just relying on camo to keep you safe. It's definitely doable. Also, good way to, someone's moving towards an objective, and you catch them on that second move.
You're bricked. Yeah. So also, I've been playing a whole bunch of stuff in JSA that I haven't really played before, such as the Ninja regular hacker. I'm just a big fan of the bow, man. I love the bow so much, so I never want to take the regular hacker. But anyways,
Sure.
Took a regular hacker and like grabbed a box and stuck him in a corner because I'm like, he needs to be safe. And then I was playing against military orders. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is really good.
Yeah.
Right?
Just the bow isn't good on them.
Yeah. They get SMGs.
No, the fizz is just too low.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to gush a little bit. My first experience with the bow is, I agreed. I was like, their fizz is low. Their BS is low. Why the hell do I want to use one of these bows? It's garbage. And then I moved past the line of sight of a model and I shot him in the back. And I was like, oh, he didn't get a reaction.
Yeah.
That's why it's so good.
Being the only silent weapon left, yes, that is great.
It's so much fun.
It's just so hard because they're Fizz 11, 12?
Yeah. No, they're Fizz 12.
Fizz 12, okay. It's just
Fizz 12 DA is...
That's okay. It's just, man, comparing it to like something like the hard case, which is Fizz 13, and does many similar things to what the Ninja does, and it's just like, man, but this thing just does it for cheaper and just messes things up so much more.
Yeah, but there's a lot of differences there.
There are.
Like +1 damage is relevant, but isn't wildly better. And 2, like that's an irregular trooper. It doesn't have infiltration. Doesn't have mimetism 6.
It does have
isn't a
infiltration.
Specialist.
Yeah, they have infiltration.
Oh, does it have infiltration? I thought they were forward deployment for some
No,
reason.
it has infiltration and it has camo and decoy.
Sure. Yeah. So
and it's 12
but
points.
Isn't a specialist. Is irregular. Isn't hidden. there's a lot of other things going for the
A lot of
ninja.
changes for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if you want to advocate for ninjas getting plus pH, I am down.
No, they should be Fizz 11. Making that just harder for
Plus.
all the way
No.
around. No infiltrating for you. No TACBO for you.
Yeah, I don't infiltrate with ninjas anyways. It's just, I don't know. Going in on a 9 doesn't feel that good.
Yeah.
No. Unless it's a mission where you get a bonus to it.
Are there any?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what gives you a bonus to infiltration rolls?
One of the missions that has oh no, it's the bonus to the
dropping.
airdrop roll.
Yeah.
No, never mind. That's
Yeah, so actually I think that's a good segue point for Firefight is everyone's Van Zanting right now. So
oh, I love it because I
Yeah.
have the Echo Bravos.
yeah, it just gives you such freedom of placement. Like even if you don't walk in on your opponent's board edge specifically, like even just catching that side portion of the deployment zone,
yeah.
sometimes you can just find a great spot that you'll be completely safe and then can start wreaking havoc on the soft underbelly of the list and just start coring out all of those little cheerleaders.
So that is something that I've been considering in deployment because it's like, oh, these factions that don't normally have those issues, you better deploy with your facing proper.
Oh yeah, because I will be exploiting that with the Echo Bravo.
Hell yeah, brother.
Wild parrots are so tasty against heavy infantry links in deployment zones.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with a perimeter weapon, like you don't even have to expose the model. Like as long as you can deploy somewhere safely, you could then, scoot up a tiny bit, still stay on the other side of that terrain, and then, long bomb 8 inches away a wild parrot, and boom, there's an EM mine.
Dude, even not heavy infantry, like if you isolate that many troops,
Yeah, nobody likes that unless they're Marats.
That's it. My favorite is because with how many people have picked up Bakunin, how many stigmatas I run up against, and how many
they're
stigmatas.
such a cool profile.
Oh, they are. They're amazing. I love them. I think they're fantastic. I would be playing them if I was playing Bakunin. But how many stigmatas across many games and many opponents that I've turned into bricks because of the Echo Bravo Wild Parrot is insane. They just never see it coming.
Which is funny because I feel like, I mean, maybe not that it's an Echo Bravo specifically or a Wild Parrot specifically, but I feel like so often there's an engineer right there. I mean, maybe that's the problem is they're too close, but I feel like you should be able to get away with having them spaced in such a way that it's hard to activate one and trigger the mine on both or the parrot on both.
Well, see, so the thing is when I'm doing it, I come in, I throw out the wild parrot in a position where I could catch it, more than one model if that's my goal, and then I use a different model or even the Echo Bravo itself to trigger the ARO, and so they have to choose: am I going to dodge or am I going to shoot back and eat the mine? That kind of thing, and usually then that ends up with, and people have passed the saves. That's very valid. But usually it ends up with the tag being bricked. And then if the engineer, which is nearby, is not bricked themselves, but I mean, they're also an engineer, I just go ahead and do what I can to kill them so it's not an issue. So this is almost entirely active turn. This is not me, making you waste orders in your turn, which is a valid tactic as well. This is just usually me going, I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to make you take an arrow, so it goes off, and I'm just trying to, control the thing there. But as it's valid to set it up and leave it to make them deal with it. I just find that's a little harder because with the wild parrot not being camouflaged.
For sure.
Something that's just outside the detonation area just shoots it, and it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
One order, woo. And, if I'm doing that, I want them to spend, 3 or 4 orders dealing with
totally
wild parrot stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is I always feel like it's kind of dicey to rely on isolating the engineer.
Yeah.
Because they can fix themselves and then start taking orders again, and then you
Yeah.
just go fix the tag. Like I've
Yes.
done that with Parvati in OSS, where I was playing and it was Druze, and so there were many spec-fired EM grenades. So, or no, I was playing Starmada with Parvati, and yeah, bombed on Parvati. Like, all right, well, my turn. She's gonna spend her order to fix herself on a 15. Yes, she does. Here we go. And yeah, so I mean, orphans or Mars spiders or whatever the case is, there are not whip 15, but still, one of those things where I feel like you really want to go pick them off if you can.
Totally.
But yeah, so any things that you have noticed? I mean, Ian, I guess this sort of disqualified for this particular question, but Azoka, have you noticed anything in your practice of some of these games, like any observations of things that might have made you want to move things around in a list or swap things out, or tools you wish you had but that you didn't in practice games but are going to make sure you're going to bring to the Krug, or things along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically I'm an advocate of just make your list and play the list, because more experience with a list is better than making many different lists. I know this doesn't necessarily apply to you yourself, but that's something that I find works better for me. However, I really like Shinobu. She's my favorite character. I love her so much, and it's probably has something to do with I played her in Defiance, and she just went off, and I was like, "This is so cool, my fantasy."
Nice.
So, anyways, I want her to be good at Mind Wipe, but it is impossible for her to be good at Mind Wipe. She's just way too much of a point sink. 44 points is a lot to ask for somebody who can't do the mission. She can kill a lot of things. That's good. Yes. So, initially I had a list with her in it, and I had Saito as well. As well as like some other things, right? I tried it in Mind Wipe, and admittedly, that was one of the mission. That game was where I was kind of flexing my JSA muscles and trying to see how far can I get with Shinobu. Well, the answer was mid, but Saito later on wasn't able to take out the objective. So I kind of like revamped that list, took Shinobu out, cried a little bit, moved on with my life, and put in a whole bunch of other things. And there's just so much redundancy in the list now that it was good. Saito was like, okay, he can handle the Mind Wipe objective real quick, real easy. It's going to be a good time. I have Samsa in there because they gave him decharges for reasons. And then, Karoshi Rider because it's a fast bike with decharges. And then Yojimbo because he's just very good for his points. Does exactly what he needs to do. And I was like, all right, this list can take him out so much. And I played one game with that, or I played a couple of games with it, and I actually took out Saito because there's enough redundancy in the list. There's also a ninja in there, and the ninja can take care of the objectives as well, right? It can activate the console and has a DA. Granted, it's only damage 14 DA, so it's not that good, but still a benefit, right? Can do it. So I took out Saito, and I was like, maybe I'll play the Ryukin. They got decharges. They got mines. They got some other stuff. Because I was like, I ended up not using Saito in a couple of games, just because like the way the game worked out didn't end up happening. So I was like, I just down and order the whole game. So I was thinking maybe I should drop him. And I did.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things where, like, I'm playing Tunguska, and the fantasy of Tunguska is having all the sweet hackers, pressing all the buttons, doing all the things, and yeah, like I really need CC options too. Like I can't rely on the one model getting there and running data erasure and actually punching through it quickly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because
Data erasure is good, but not good enough.
Yeah, I think it's what damage 18 DA or 17 DA.
Burst 1.
Yeah. Yeah, 17 DA, but it's only burst 1, and the servers are BTS 6, which is okay, but doesn't feel good.
It's nice because you're safe.
Right. And that's kind of what you have to bank on is like, can I do this and get in zone of control and make it happen? And sometimes yes, but there are plenty of times not. So then, I'm looking at options like Den McConnelly or Raoul Spector or things like that. I think who was I thinking of? Even like a Lunicot with D charges can go drop that.
Lunicots have D charges?
Yes.
Huh. Cool.
And they're also nice defensive pieces because they're repeaters and they have koalas and they have templates. Like they're actually, I really like them in most defensive aspects. And then once the kind of hard AROs are down, they're really good to go launch forward and get stuff done and go heavy shotgun people.
Yeah, for sure.
Or drop inconvenient koalas and the like. Now I might need to change the list again.
That's what we're here for, right?
Exactly. So yeah, I think that one of the things that this lineup kind of asks for is having good defensive tools and having layered arrows and other
It's
layered
true.
defenses. Like you don't want to just let your opponent run all over you because in supplies that can put you really far behind. Mind wipe, you need to have defenses there to keep people off the servers and just scoring a ton of points by grabbing that. Unmasking is a little bit harder. Like it's mostly like how well can you cut off avenues of approach to the HVTs and how well can you provide overwatch on the consoles themselves. And firefight, you just need to turtle up. Like a koala is a great answer to someone running on your board edge.
Yes.
Koala is very good for that. And mines.
And mines. Having mine layer is great.
This is koalas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine layer with koalas. Man, it's so good. This is something that I've noticed. I don't know about you guys, but just kind of in general tournament not etiquette, but general tournament practice is I find myself sometimes forgetting things like koalas, for example. I'll forget to deploy a koala whenever I lay down Yojimbo. Mm-hmm. Or I'll forget a mine whenever I play Yuriko Oda. And it's one of those small things that's like, oh yeah, this model has mine layer. Or this really tripped me up with Bit and Kiss. Bit has mine layer for repeaters, and I always forgot it. So one of the things that I'm getting better at is, at least in my recent games, is just pulling those out with the model. Just being like, okay, I'm grabbing the model, also grab these and set them next to them. And even for like Ryukin and stuff like that, sometimes I'll just almost there's been one time where I've straight up forgotten to place the camo token because I'm like, my models are out. And then we got into turn 1 and I'm like, I don't have a Ryukin. I'm going to put him in this spot that makes maybe a bit of sense, but a little less so to be not too good. Is that okay? Yeah. Yes, it's fine. So it's like, just pull them out, get everything all together. And this really helped.
Yeah, that's a really good call. And that's a practice that I guess I didn't really consider too heavily, but I have been generally doing that is like I usually don't do it before I'm deploying because I don't want to, give it all away necessarily. But yeah, when it's my turn to deploy, I like take everything off my tray that I'm going to be deploying at the time, set it aside, and then start placing stuff. And yeah, that definitely helps a lot. Like I'll make sure that I set camo markers with the guys I'm deploying to represent the actual troopers that are there instead of the models that being pulled off the tray or extra equipment being dropped and the like. So one thing that helps me with perimeter, koalas in particular, really, on big based models, is that I magnetize my bases. And so I can just stick the koalas on the side, and they're like on the base with the Lunicod or what have you.
That's funny.
And then, I can set one aside and like, all right, he's got one left. There we go. Now we know.
That's actually really good.
Yeah. So, yeah, a good way to try and limit those, because, when it happens, it never feels good how it's resolved. If it's resolved after the fact, because either you're doing something you wouldn't have done had you just given it a slight bit more thought. But also your opponent's like, oh, well, now there's new information that's been introduced that I don't necessarily like either. And it's just, it's not fun for anyone to like, well, now you know stuff that you didn't know during deployment. And now I am being introduced to new things. And like, maybe that's coming from a direction that I would have wanted to go in the next couple of orders. But
totally.
But you as the player placing it wouldn't necessarily know that. But now, because you didn't see that avenue or whatever, it can be rough. But I think.
What about you? Have you ran into anything crazy as you've been playing your practice games?
I think mostly it's just a matter of, I was kind of running into similar situations, not just with Mindwipe and being able to hit the servers, but just not quite having enough redundancy in a couple places. Like, I really needed, one other hacker or one other source of a repeater, or, one more source of smoke instead of just the first one, or, little things like that where it's like, I have to give up some of the fun toys that I want to make the list more robust. Like, but I could squeeze this in. You could, but what you need is this. Fair. But so I think the biggest one is kind of like, okay, well, I don't think one smoke thrower is enough. I think 2 is probably fine, but I don't think 1 is quite enough. And, I think that having some repeater coverage, I think that, sometimes it'd have like a heckler. Like, that's not, hecklers are very, very good. But that's not, usually need just a little bit more, like someone with a pitcher or theoretically a second heckler or something like that, just to make sure that I can actually get the mileage out of the hackers that I'm bringing anyway.
Do you have access to Valeria?
No.
Bummer.
No, the main pitchers are going to be
Hollow Men, right?
Hollow Men or Mary Problems.
But Mary can't link, right?
No, she cannot. But technically you can get pitchers on the Cyclone Sputniks, but Cyclones are kind of a tough pill to swallow next to Vostoks.
Which is such a bummer, because they're great.
Yeah, Cyclone are really cool. They're just, like, the main benefit they have is that they can take a Forebach, which is great. I think that's really cool. But losing the mimetism and the wound is a lot. Like, for not a massive points difference. Like, you get a longer range weapon, which is great. But like, that's part of it. Like, I would love to, throw a Cyclone in a Harris or something, but like, most of the time that ends up being a Vostok instead if I'm going that route.
Yeah.
Because like, it's harder to hit and it's tougher. And it still hits hard, just not as hard. But I think that's kind of the main thing for me, is I just need to trim a little bit of the fat, as it were, and focus on making the core a little bit more robust instead of diving into too many directions and kind of like, oh yeah, I can do a lot of different things, but only like a model might be able to do that given thing. And now that it's gone, I can't.
Yeah, that's it's something. So this is something that I've been practicing a little bit more, even though I've practiced it a lot in the past, but I've forgotten it a little bit. And it's something that's good for good Infinity players to do. Focus on your enemies' specialists. Like I did mind wipe one game or unmasking one game, and I was like, sweet, I'm kind of in lead. I don't really need to kill the rest of your stuff, but what's your specialists? Okay, that needs to go because now you just can't do the mission.
Sure. Yeah.
I've been paying attention to that quite a bit more.
Yeah, and that can be, backbreaking. Like, and the nice thing about that is that kind of also discourages you from accidentally putting an opponent into retreat by just like, I'm just going to wipe out as much stuff as I can.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah. It definitely still happens. It can be hard to have a good idea of the costs of everything in the moment, even if you're somewhat familiar already.
Bro, in one of the tournament games, I knew what I needed to do and I still killed an extra model. It was Corregidor. I'm like, I know exactly how many points your things are, and then I got carried away with the rest of the mission. I'm like, let's kill Carlotta because why not? We're in Lost Lieutenant. I need to do something with this order. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Cost me the game.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that is a good point to kind of transition towards final thoughts. But before we get there, I just want to give another shout out to our patrons and say thank you for your support of the show. We really appreciate those of you who are willing and able to make that contribution and just make this a lot easier for us to keep things going. It allows us to do special projects and stuff. Like we had the Metachemist. It helps pay for equipment. It helps for software subscriptions. It helps for we've had patches made, so we're gonna have patches at the Krug to put in the swag bags, and so
Woohoo!
That's the kind of stuff that those funds go to. They don't pay us. We don't collect anything to our pockets for this, but it definitely helps it so we don't have to put so much of our own money directly into the show. So thank you very, very much for that. And even if you are not able to or not interested in becoming a patron, you should stop by our Discord. Our Discord is freely open, even though we do have some patron-specific channels and some things like that. But the Discord is freely open for everyone to stop by, talk Infinity, show off paint jobs, discuss lists, rampant speculation about N5, whatever the case
so
may
much
be.
Fun.
Right? So it's in the show notes as always. So we hope that you come out and say hi. We'd love to have you. Now, as far as our final thoughts go on our Krug preparation, I think one of these is kind of obligatory at this point. We've made something of a tradition of how do you think you're going to place, in addition to any other final nuggets you have. Ian.
Top half.
All right.
Yeah. Just,
swinging for the fences.
Haven't been able to get any practice games in, but I know my faction. So I come and say, I'd probably come in top half.
Fair enough. And then any other particular notes or things of interest or considerations for the Krug or its lineup or anything like that?
Not really. It's I'm excited for the Krug, as I always am. It's always a great time.
Absolutely.
I like the format this year being a little bit different. I think it's gonna be really cool having Bostria out. But yeah. So as far as the games themselves, I've played all these missions numerous times, and it's just gonna, kind of see how it goes without really getting any practice in. But I have the fundamentals of the game down. I think I might do okay.
All right.
Sometimes that's all that matters.
Yeah, like Nate taking fourth SLS a few years back, red eyeing it out, and then a last minute and with no practice.
Right?
Yeah.
Come on,
sometimes it do.
Yeah. How about you, Azoka?
Placement? I have no idea. I thought I was going to do well at this tournament this weekend, and I lost tied. I was like, okay, all right. I have no idea.
My confidence, no.
I know. I'm not sure. The games I played today and like a couple of other practice games that I've had, I feel pretty good about how I'm going to place. Like top half, maybe top third, I'd say. I feel like I'm going to win 3 games. So yeah, we'll see that. And then also, like, if for some reason anything crazy happens, like winning one of the global events, I am going to Nova as well, but not because I want 2 tries at the global. It's because I've wanted to go to Nova for quite a while, and things really lined up this year. So I am going to that, and I am excited to head out to the East Coast. And if there's any of you guys out there, I'd love to stop by and say hi. Hopefully we get a game in. I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I think for me, I'm glad to see kind of a fundamentals lineup that leans slightly towards heavier objective play. Um, like you mentioned earlier, Ian, I feel like that's kind of the core of Infinity. And obviously, bullets are going to be flying every game no matter what. But I like missions that kind of lean just a little bit more towards, some sort of goal rather than just kill enemy operatives.
I like getting tabled and still winning.
It's pretty cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it happens enough times.
It's like, haha, I will take my Pyrrhic victory, for it is a victory nonetheless.
I don't know who those guys were, but I still got the data.
They don't exist. It was a black op.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna try and be ambitious, and I'm shooting for top quarter, and we'll see how that goes.
Top quarter.
Yeah, because I think the key, if we've learned anything about these prep episodes and the results afterwards, it's that you psych yourself out by preparing too much. Obviously, the key is to go in without any foresight whatsoever.
No, that doesn't work. Andrew,
Oh, okay.
what is that monster?
Yeah. No, Andrew was doing a lot of practice and dialing in to get that first place, but
It's
yeah.
true.
But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I'm optimistic. That's kind of I kind of align with you as well, Azoka, as far as that goes. Like I'm always like hoping to kind of sit in the 3-2 spot. As long as I'm there, like that's kind of where like, all right, I did it. Did the thing.
I need to beat the good players, man. Like every time
Yeah.
I'm like 4, I've won 4. All right. Now you play Cobra Prime and I'm like, why did I choke? The answer is I didn't.
But you played Cobra Prime.
I did. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, I've been there.
Yeah, I've definitely had that happen on a lot of occasions. Actually, the more I think about it, I play the winner at a lot of these events. Like not like fourth round or fifth round, but usually it's usually between third and fourth round. Like I've definitely hit. Like I played Steven at SLS at the last Krug was. We don't talk about last Krug, and then the previous SLS, it was Cobra Prime, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I played him mid event, and I think the Krug before that, I played Ruben.
I played Cobra Prime at 2 Krugs ago, final round when he took it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's got to be a good sign, right? Right.
Yeah.
That's how I'm taking it. I also lose to Tim pretty swell, or I have.
Sure.
I was like, stop it.
Hey,
Don't beat me.
I'm currently 1-0 against Tim.
Keep it up. Hey, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. I just have to never play again.
All right, so Chainsaw, we're accepting challenges at this year's Krug. If you'd like to revoke that title for me, awesome. So we hope that any of you who are listening that are able to make it out to the Krug, please say hi. We would love to meet you, and we'll be back. I think probably sooner than normal for our recap episode. So we're excited for that to let you know how it all goes. And with that, I have been Devin.
Azoka?
And Ian. And that's the meta.